very much so appreciated. I'm really, really, really excited to be here today, and I'm glad you guys all woke up to come here in the morning, because this is not my wake-up time. I definitely appreciate you doing that. And today, I think, after arriving last night and sort of spending some time with some people that I haven't seen for a while, this is a new topic that I haven't really dove into quite a bit now that I recently turned 21, so I'm not young anymore. I can't play that card. My previous presentations would be like being young and rocking it, and now I'm like old, and it really sucks. And Sahil has me beat. Like, he kicked my ass, like hands down, but not for long. All right. So I'm actually really excited too, because on Saturday, tomorrow, I'm actually flying back to Vancouver for Mother's Day. My mom doesn't know that I'm coming back, so nobody tweet this, please, because she's on Twitter. She's watching my tweets all the time. If I don't tweet for like a day, she'll like call me and be like, "Are you alive?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And then and it's a tradition now. So I every year since 2009, I now go back home for Mother's Day as a surprise. So I think she probably knows. But the reason why is because the first Mother's Day, I went back, and it was after I got laid off from Dig, so it was actually very sad of a Mother's Day. But everyone after that has been awesome. So I want to keep that trend up. So I'm going to try to figure out how to balance between the remote and the mic. And the reason why, by the way, there's like an over-ear mic. Why am I using this thing? Is because I'm too small to fit the over-ear mic. It just falls off. And by the hockey thing, I did play full body contact hockey, but I broke my knee 4 years ago, so I stopped playing. So that's why I shrunk. I used to be like 250 pounds and really buff. All right, so let's get started. So today's fun, amazing, get you guys jacked up topic is keep getting lucky. Yeah, you like how I worked the company name in there? Yeah. So keep getting lucky. This is a topic that's been very prominent lately. You know, you have a lot of books that are coming out about creating your own luck and blah blah blah. And like, you know, how do you make yourself lucky, and how do you keep getting lucky? And it's a very confusing thing, because you're like, well, luck is supposed to be like, I can't control it. I've got this internal and external locus of control, blah blah. I'm here to say that you can control it, and I'm going to give you 10 steps to do that. That's based on sort of the last few years of sort of trial and error. A lot of error, but I hope it helps you, and I hope you like it. So just so I start off with a little bit of context, like you're probably wondering who I am or why this random skinny Asian kid is on stage talking about luck. I don't get any, but you look at the company that we created, it's actually quite a bit about luck and gaming and chance and fun. And where I came from is I actually used to work at a company that we all know and love as Dig, R.I.P. Dig, sorry. And the idea for Kiip actually came to me after I got laid off, and it's based on rewarding people when they hit achievements in games. So it actually was born out of this idea from seeing this. Yeah, you guys have all seen this in Pandora. Oh, you get kicked out. It's like really, really fucking annoying, right? And then you get this huge full screen thing when you're finished a word in Words with Friends. It's just ads in games, when I saw it, was absolutely abysmal. This was the problem that I saw, and I said, there has to be a solution. And then what I saw was this. In games, everybody hits achievements. Yay, 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 right? Woo, yay, woo. And these happiness moments are like basically beat to a pulp when you see an ad after that. It just pisses you off. And we're like, well, why don't we just reward you with really cool shit from big brands? That was the idea. And that's what we did. So today we have, it's weird for me to say this, we have 35 people in the company. We're based in San Francisco, New York. It's been 18 months since we started. And it's been a wicked ride. And the way we do it right now is you see these things, which are these rewards that you get, and people get really stoked. And we've given about, I'd say, 40 million of these now. It's pretty crazy. So how did I kind of get to this point? I'm going to share like a few random stories that kind of put this all together. This is, for those of you who are huge Counter-Strike nerds in the room will know, is Counter-Strike. I was a massive Counter-Strike nerd for a very long time. Woo, yeah! One person. Damn it. So Counter-Strike, I played it for a good, like, I'd say 8 years, and I was like top in like 5 servers. My favorite form of Counter-Strike was this thing called Surf. You could like, it was a hacked together map where you could like basically jump on these slides and slide around and shotgun people in the face. It was amazing. Why did Counter-Strike become so helpful to me? Well, I will show another image that I hope other nerds in this room will get. If you get this, I applaud you. These are 3 lens flares from the lens flare filter in Photoshop. It is the most noob thing you would do with Photoshop. And I'm using this as a reference to my design background. So I taught myself how to design when I was 11. I went on forums and I used tutorials and I cracked Photoshop and I pirated that shit. And by the way, I'm pretty sure Adobe allows you to purposely do that. Because if they didn't do that, there would be no great designers today. You can't afford a $1,000 piece of software, so like, let's just let the kids crack it. We will put blind eye. And so Counter-Strike actually helped me do Photoshop really, really good. Like the fact that you need to like, I was an op whore, so like op is the sniper rifle, and you have like these tiny little pixels on the screen where you just have to headshot or else you'll die. Like snipers have to be on it and be really accurate with their mouse. And so that actually made me extremely fast in eyeballing sizing on Photoshop, and I became very efficient at designing. So that's sort of random 2 things that kind of led to, and this is another, sort of sequential in my life. So you have Counter-Strike, like Photoshop, and then Typhoon. So this was actually, so I went to university a little early. I skipped a few grades in elementary school and high school. I started when I was 14. When I was 17, I went on exchange to a fun place in Asia called Singapore, and I decided to not do any school during that exchange and travel, which is what everybody does, right? Who cares? It's pass, fail, whatever, right? I'll just go to the finals. I passed, which is awesome. But I ended up going to Taiwan for a weekend, and by very normal in Southeast Asia. You can like fly to random places in the area for very cheap, right? And so, me and my friends were traveling all the time. We went to Taiwan, and I use this Typhoon as an example of kind of this hallmark element of my trip as a whole. Like, it's kind of weird that a Typhoon is like a highlight. But we basically got stranded in Taiwan for like a week because of a typhoon. I remember the last day we were supposed to leave. The day after that, I was supposed to hand in a final paper, which obviously didn't happen. But I remember sort of being in the hotel. We went to a tourist destination. It started to get a little rainy, and then we saw right next to like the desk in the front this poster, and it showed this cyclone icon moving towards I was like, that's happening today? They're like, oh yeah. So, I was like, so do I? And then every flight got canceled that day. And so, but the reason why I mention this is because this was a mark of adventure for me. As a sheltered Asian child, I didn't leave Vancouver a lot, and when I went on exchange, it was a massive jolt of inspiration and energy to me, where I was like, I can actually do whatever the fuck I want. I can go and leave on a weekend trip to Thailand. I can do anything that tickles my fancy, and because I live on my own and I have no parental supervision, awesome. And this was a very big, I caught the travel bug when I went on exchange. I began to realize that the world was so massive that people always beat themselves down and go, I don't have a job, oh, there's no job. It's like, there's tons of them. They're everywhere in the world. Like go find one. Anyway, so that was part of it. And then, I'll get to the inspirational stuff later, but, and then ended up working at Dig. This is the beer fridge at Dig while I was very much so underage. As you guys know, Dig was a very beer-centric culture, as you know from Dig Nation. And so I was just basically barred, which sucked. But it's all good. I can drink now, so tonight's going to be woo! Okay, all right. And I hear gambling is 8 minutes away across state lines. Thanks, Jeff. All right, so number 1. So how do you keep getting lucky? The first item is to just start playing. Just start playing the game. Just get in. Stop asking questions. Stop asking for fucking coffees from other entrepreneurs to learn from them. Just go start. Just start. I'm sick and tired of hearing everybody going, how do I approach this? And, is this person going to answer my email? And blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking know. Just do it. And then start the game, because you won't know how the game will be played or how the rules will be set until you start, right? And there's always this fear. And as an entrepreneur, you have to overcome that. If you can't overcome that first step, you're not one. You're a wantrepreneur. And it sucks. Right? But it's too bad, right? Jump off that cliff and then grow some wings while you're falling, right? That's the number one thing you need to do. So number one, start playing it. Number two, well, by the way, yeah, if you start, would you start? You won't get lucky until you actually start playing. Yeah, so that's the whole point. Okay, you get it. Okay, number two, surround yourself with other lucky people. And it's kind of, you can see it. Yes, the projector is great. So that's a Victoria's Secret fashion show. I just attribute bikini-clad models with luck all the time. But surround yourself with other lucky people. So this is incredibly important. And I got very lucky regarding sort of the first two. So by the way, number one, like, started playing the game. I started because I got laid off, by the way. So I had no job. I was about to be deported because I'm Canadian. If you're Canadian, you apparently you're not invited to work here. This is one of those things. Just you have to apply for a visa and everything. It was all a big mess. But I managed to work it out. It's all good. I'm legal here now. So anybody from the immigration services, surround yourself with other lucky people. Yeah, so I got very lucky when I was at Dig, right? Because everybody around me was super smart. And you'll notice people around you, sometimes it's just people just seem to get really lucky. And you're like, how? Don't ask how. Just hang out with them. Hang out with all of them. It's all good. And when you hang out with them, luck breeds luck. Wealth breeds wealth, right? It's this reification, this fake it till you make it. Like, you have people who just start, shit just starts happening, and you're like, I'm just gonna be there, and the serendipity will just overcome you. It's really amazing, right? Just surround yourself with as many lucky people as possible, and that's how you start these companies, by the way, because they seem to have some flash, in the pan successes, and you kind of go, oh, that's really cool. Let's try to turn that into business, or this seems to be an interesting, first day of launch. Might be something that we could start to really hook onto. You never really know, but just start, finding really lucky people and just hang out with them a lot. And by the way, events are a perfect way to do that, like this. Number three, choose a really big field. Big, right? I'm talking huge. Find a market that's absolutely massive and growing, right? Don't corner yourself. In the beginning, you might be somewhat sure that what you're doing, right? Sure that what you're doing is gonna work out. But if you have the positioning that allow you to basically tackle anything within a very wide breadth, you have every excuse to really grab on an opportunity. And let me explain a little bit more. So in our space right now, it's kind of a mishmash of mobile, gaming, and advertising, right? Like, when you walk to a VC, you say those things like, oh, wow, like, big, right? And you combine those three things, and what you have as a result is an excuse to pretty much do a lot of different things, and being very defocused in the beginning, because when in the beginning you are doing what Eric Ries likes to talk about a lot in his really formalized terms, lean startup. And I'm not advocating that you should use these terms all the time, but it's good to define them, which is iterating and figuring out all these different things. But you can only do that if your field is really big. If you corner yourself as antiques for for kids, like it's just not the tiny, right? Make a game with less players. What do I mean by that? Did I skip one, by the way? I don't think. Yeah, no, I didn't. I kind of did. Sorry, guys. Yeah, whatever. My math really didn't work out that well. That's weird. How did I get to number 5? Make a game with less players. Make a game with less players. And what I mean by that is you got to figure out how to, again, not only choose a big field, but have that field be filled with very few people. But then also almost try to create a positioning that you are the only one in that category, because that's how you purposefully differentiate yourself without needing to pay attention to the competition, right? At Kiip, we have a lot of competition. I won't deny it. But anytime anybody asks me, do you have competition? I'll be like, no, we don't have any direct competition. We have a lot of indirect competition, which is actually very true, by the way. So I'm not faking it. I'm saying this is not direct. And the way you perceive it and the way you position yourself, we're not an ad network, we're a rewards network, right? We use moments instead of impressions. There's a lot of vernacular to it. And I'm kind of opening the kimono and sharing this with you guys for one specific reason. It's a very interesting dynamic to be categorized and to be bucketed. But if you can play it right, if you can make your own bucket, there's almost this amazing thing that happens. And what I call it is this blue skies effect, where all of a sudden, oh, you're the only leader in the only market that you created. It could be worth $1, could be worth $1 billion. Who knows? You never know, right? And you have this massive blue sky in front of you that because you created it, it becomes your own positioning, and people start to really buy into it, right? Just having customers validate and having people spend money on you, you begin to actually create a market. It's an amazing thing. A marketplace, if you have to remember this, it's very simple. You have buyers and sellers. Just remember that. If you have a buyer and you have a seller, you have now created a market. And that's an amazing, beautiful thing. Number 6, or 5 really, but number 6, remove unlucky from your vocabulary. And again, you'll notice there's a lot of perception-based stuff in here. You'll see a bit of it. But unlucky should not be even a word you should be using. It shouldn't even be something you should have when you talk about what happens. When you fail, it's not unlucky. It was a very lucky learning experience. And you have to remember that when you figure out how to not do something, it's just as good as figuring out how to do something. And so when we looked at this, well, first of all, I mean, how many of you feel, and I just want to see a show of hands, how many of you feel like you have control over your own fate? Put up your hand. That's good. And how many of you feel you don't have control over your own fate? Put up your hand. And by the way, no religious philosophical shit, please. What I mean is most of the time, like there's a lot of that. But what I mean is just think of just life in general and internal and external locus control. And I'll meet a lot of people who'll be like, oh, well, I mean, all these bad things keep on happening. They're not really bad if you think about it a bit more. Look into them a little deeply. Why were they happening? Why are people trying to, like my brother was applying for a job last week, didn't get it, right? And he's like, oh, it sucks. I'm so unlucky. I'm like, no. You're actually really lucky you found out that you weren't a fit for this job. Otherwise, if you were to do this job, you would have hated yourself. And it would have been even worse. Right? So just think about things in a way that will allow you to remove unlucky from your vocabulary. Number 7, it's all about relative luck. Right? And what I mean by that is, okay, so this is usually the story people use. Okay, you know, there's a car accident, right? And there's usually a very unlucky dude and then a very lucky dude. And the unlucky dude goes, oh, I'm so unlucky. I got in a car accident. I'm such a klutz, right? And then the lucky dude is like, oh, I'm so lucky to be alive, right? And so you have this, and look at the limo. Like, I just found it very funny. There's a limo. It's first world problems, right? In like San Francisco, some stretch limo can't go over a hill. But you just realize that it's all about relative luck for you when you see, again, the different scenarios that result in your success, right? If you're able to remove unlucky, if you're able to find a perfect market, if you're able to, not perfect, but if you're able to find sort of this area for you to play in, right? And then you realize that you are actually indeed very lucky, it'll really help the way you perceive how to move forward. It's a very big mind game. It's all about how you trick your own mind. Because the way that luck manifests itself in real life is usually some kind of a good outcome if you think of it. But that good outcome, as I said, has to be relative to what you've previously achieved. If you continue to aim for goals and you're able to set a bar. And one way to do this, by the way, is to not pretend, but just go through life knowing that nobody gives a fuck about you. And I mean this in a very serious way. If you continue thinking, you know what, nobody gives a fuck about my company, nobody gives a fuck about me, nobody cares. Nobody cares. No one's going to come in and help me. No one's going to grab me out of the shithole. I'm on my own, not on my own, but you'll have people helping you. But just having that view will have this serious humility that will help you go through and understand that anything amazing is an opportunity, and you grab the bull by the horns, right? It's amazing. Just think about it that way. Number 8, use what normally gets you lucky. All right. Another Victoria's Secret model background picture. I really enjoyed Googling that stuff. Use what normally. So what I mean by normally makes you lucky is actually what gets you luck. I'm talking in dating and flirt. You know what I mean, right? You know what I'm hinting at. But what I mean by that is what normally gets you lucky is usually these traits that you'll use to convince the member of the opposite sex or of the same sex, whichever way you fly, to go out with you or to sleep with you. And the thing that you use, if you notice, will be your trait. It's your superpower, right? If you know, to me, I always, you know, I know that I get people really excited about stuff, right? This is what I do. I know that I'm good at that, and I'll use it a lot. And other people will have different traits that they'll use to flirt. Just use that. And the reason why I'm saying that that's so important is because most people try to pick some other strength to try to fix their weaknesses. But really, if you're really good at something, just identify it and use it. And you'll, by the way, know just by asking your friends. Like, hey, dude, what am I really good at? They're like, yeah, dude, yeah, like you're really good at pissing people off. Like you should use that as your strength. Whatever it is, you'll know. Your friends will say it, and it'll be a common theme. It's very cool once you start asking around. Number 9, make people around you lucky. And the way you do that is just by giving back. You know, it's all about this full circle, right? And whatever goes around comes around. And the more people you help get lucky, the more they're willing to serendipitously help you. And you'll notice this through just random things like events and going out and asking for help. And asking, by the way, is so underrated. Just ask for stuff and you will receive. And asking for help is so important because no one will know how to help you unless you actually tell them how they can help you, right? And it's just such a obvious thing, but people don't do it. And then by the way, have you heard of The Secret? Right, this movie, The Secret, like it's way back, it was like super huge fad thing, and people think it's scammy. There's one thing about The Secret that was actually legit, which was this notion of thinking about stuff and it'll just come to you. I'm kidding. No, it was actually more about the fact that it's a law of attraction, where if you start thinking about something that you really want, you'll subconsciously tell everybody around you that you want it. Just notice this. If you go, I really need to hire a designer, notice yourself in every event or every social, yeah, man, I'm just really trying to find this designer, like, oh. And then your friends will pick up on it. It's happened so many times to me. You have no idea. Where I'll just be like, and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, I'll be like, hey, Brian, I just forwarded you a resume. This is a buddy of mine. You're looking for a data engineer? Yeah, this guy's perfect for it. By the way, we are looking for another data engineer in case you guys know someone. But yeah, so like, you know, you have sort of this notion of just talking about a lot and attracting benefits to you. And the last is luck becomes serendipity. And I used the word luck today because I just wanted to use it to identify sort of this notion of good shit happening without you actually feeling you have control. But serendipity is the real result here that occurs from everything that I've just mentioned, right? You'll have, you know, the good things just all of a sudden start to happen. You'll perceive them to be great. You'll feel like this is all serendipitous. It's just an amazing thing. And you'll only get to that by trying to perceive and trying to act and do in a way that allows you to identify the opportunities that come to you. And Einstein once said, I think it was Einstein or some random really famous scientist, was you can't judge a fish by how it climbs a tree. And it's very true. If you can't find the environments and the games or the fields to play in, you're never going to flourish and you're never going to find the opportunities to help you succeed in life. So I wish you all the best of luck and keep getting lucky. Thank you very much.
Take a few questions.
Time for Q&A, right?
Yeah,
okay.
So we're going to take a few questions. Please come up, line up right here or right over there. Brian, I'll
By the way, you'll notice here, I didn't do a typo. It's actually Kiip.com. We recently bought Kiip.com. I'm so stoked. Because we used to be Kiip.me, and I hated it. But Kiip.com, yeah. All right, questions.
So please come up, get in line, ask questions. We have a few minutes for that. Brian, my question for you is, so I started a company, and I'm trying to figure out what the first, no, I'm just kidding. Who are some of the people, you talk about surrounding yourself, people are doing good things. Who are some of these people you surround yourself with that make you better and challenge you to be the best version of yourself?
So I'm just going to mention a couple people, and yeah, they were from Dig, and no, it's not Kevin Rose, although yes, Kevin is an advisor to our company, but Matt Van Horn is one of them, and I don't know if any of you have heard of him or know of him. He's currently the VP of Biz Dev at Path, and Matt is the walking version of this. If you ever get to meet him, he's just a pro, and he was the one who kind of took a chance on me at Dig and went, oh, let's just hire some random Asian kid and bring him down to San Francisco with no network and have him do business development at Dig. And so I thank him for everything. And he is, again, a hub. And the way I identify hubs is these people who happen to know so many people around them that you have access within 1 or 2 or 3 degrees to practically everybody on the planet or within that region. Jeff is one of them here in Omaha and then across the country. And so Jeff is definitely a hub. And I don't, you know, these people are so amazing, and you'll identify them when you see them, in that people seem to always love them. Why? I can't explain it. There's no explainable thing. It's just that they give back a lot, and they do pretty much everything here kind of subconsciously. So Matt's one of them. The second person, and this is interesting. You guys have probably never heard of him either. His name is Kiip Belling. He's the founder and CEO of Pop Chips. And Keith, again, is also the walking version of this. If you guys ever ask about his story in starting Pop Chips, so how many of you guys eat and love Pop Chips? Put up your hand. Maybe not too many here, but anyways, Pop Chips is a very popular, up-and-coming, growing snack in the country. And Keith is a very experienced entrepreneur, but he's able to build all this excitement around him through simply generating a lot of serendipity. And he's been very helpful for us understanding the CPG space, and he's got so many people he knows in that area that we were able to launch when we started the company with a good set of brands. So I really appreciate what both Matt and Keith have done for me.
Hey, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so is what your company does basically convince brands to pay you to give their shit away for free?
Yes.
So can you explain like how you convinced brands to do that, especially at the early stages, and how those conversations went, and like what was your strategy for that? Because that's a really interesting business model, and it's cool that it's working.
Thank you. So the way that we did it was, well, first of all, I went out to New York and kind of got my ass kicked in the first 5 months of pitching. And it was really interesting because I have, you know, I can't claim that I have the most experience in understanding the agency or brand space at all, right? Like I studied a few classes in college about branding and shit, but like I would walk into these meetings and I'd explain it and they'd be like, get the fuck out of my office, you know, this is so stupid. I didn't really do that. They were nicer than that. But the way that I did it was iterate on the pitch. I like to A/B test my pitches, actually. So you'll go into one meeting, you'll say one thing, and you like see which one seems to be getting the most traction. The way that we pitched it, that actually ended up getting the most traction was, hey, by the way, guess when people are the most happy when they're on their phones? This happiness element, this emotional touch point. When they're in these moments of these achievements, that what we found was basically an implied moment of happiness, and brands want to be there when you're happy. Brands pay millions of dollars to do that. It's a given fact because they want to associate with the dopamine rush, and so that was a very sticky piece that we used quite a bit. And then the other thing that we did was to sort of explain that in mobile, it's not just a separate category. It's everybody. And the way we described it was just, I mean, everybody here has a smartphone, right? It's a given now. It's growing, and it's not an option anymore. It's a necessity. So it's kind of like this half scare tactic and half like, hey, you know, this is really cool moment that you should be a part of, and you might miss out on it, right? So there's sort of a much more than that. Like, for example, Keith brought in his buddy whose name is Rohan Oza, who's the CMO of Glasso, which is vitamin water, which became our first beverage partner. And then using the legitimacy of both Pop Chips and vitamin water, we brought in Sephora, we brought in Carl's Jr., Dr. Pepper, you know, and just continued to just scale all the brands that we brought in. So you have to find your first few supporters that will believe in you just because of you. The product itself, because it has zero proof in the beginning, will not hold its own. Right? A lot of VCs only invest because they like you, and the idea might be nice, but the person itself also is very key in the early stages too. So I think there might have been a combo of that and the idea itself.
Hi, I'm Shannon with Hello Holiday. I noticed that you are very young and you seem to be super positive. Great energy for the morning, by the way.
Thank you.
How do you deal with people who seem to think that being jaded is more mature and basically who don't take you seriously because you are young and have a positive outlook still on your business?
Yeah, so I will be first to say that our company has a lot of realists and are very pragmatic, and I have the yin and yang, and my team has both, you know, optimists and then pessimists, and you need to have a balance of both. And what I've decided to do with my life is I just know I'm better at being positive about shit. So I will be positive, and I'll surround myself people with enough of both so I know what actually is realistic. So people who don't take you seriously just because you seem to look at something positively probably are judging you the wrong way. And I'll try to sort of, you know, help craft their opinion by saying, hey, by the way, like, yes, I may seem to not know that there's things that could happen that are realistic outcomes, but I actually do. And I'll explain those. And yeah, shit could fail. Yeah, this could break. Yeah, there's a lot of learnings we could have from this. But I'd rather you identify what is possible. And these are traits that I think are very important for a founder or an entrepreneur, because you need to have people around you that can believe in this other vision, this vision that's greater than you, right, that you've created. And if you're not optimistic or you don't seem to be really jazzed about it every day, they're not going to follow you ever. Right? They're just going to go, why am I even doing this? There doesn't seem to be a very bright light at the end of the tunnel. So there's sort of that combo. And yes, if you have a chance to sort of spend more time with me and understand what we're creating, what our model is, I will identify what is realistically, potentially outcomes that aren't exactly the most positive. So you're absolutely correct in saying there has to be a balance. And I'm just saying that as a founder in the early stages, it's very important that you are more positive than you are negative.
I'm Brett. I'm just curious as to, obviously you came from an unconventional background, you came from Vancouver, Canada, and you know, obviously really smart, you graduated early, and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just curious as to what or who drove you out to dig, out to California, and out to, you know, eventually starting Kiip, and what can we build here perhaps that might enable other kids that might be in the same situation to really push forward?
It's a great question. So I mentioned, you remember the typhoon thing was sort of like this metaphor for my my travel bug and wanting to go out and go crazy and do crazy things. And what I will say, number one, that was a huge motivator was, I don't know if you guys have seen this video that went viral about Steve Jobs, and he was talking to this reporter or something. He was like, you know, I look around and I see things that are like man-made, and then I realize a dude created this shit, and then he didn't say it that way, but he's like, I could go in there and I could change it. I could malleable, like I could redefine the rules that are around me because someone had actually done it before me. That realization that you have the power, that who decided that you needed to walk up here to speak in that mic to ask me a question? You could have just yelled it back there. I mean, I'm kidding, but like, you know, there's sort of like general rules that were designed to be broken and have yet to be shaken up and changed. And when you have that realization, when you know that you don't have to rely on someone else to do it for you, there's obviously this fire in the belly that occurs. And I think what you can create to instigate that, it's a combination of not having education feel too formal in the way it categorizes your opportunities. And what I mean by that is you have to know the possibilities of what you can do or see it before you actually, you know, some kind of a glean of it before you actually know that it's possible, right? And by the way, traveling is the best way to do that. That's the reason why the number one thing that we look at for people who join Kiip are two requirements, or two things. Yeah, two number one things. One is, have you traveled before extensively? Secondly is, are you a good teacher, right? Are you good at teaching people shit? And the reason why is because anybody who's good at teaching is really good at listening, naturally, and is really good at explaining. And those are the two really important things you need in anybody who wants to succeed in working in a company, or at least being entrepreneurial and creating good shit. So I think it's about showing and educating people of every possibility, and also showing it through stories of successes and things that have happened in your region, and showing people that it's possible. Like it's really, really cool when you see that it's possible.